Good morning, everybody. And we already started with a little bit of welcoming each other. I was thinking the really wonderful thing that we have to celebrate today is that there will be money available to do a variety of things that we need to get done. And so the signing of the American Rescue Plan Act, I don't know if they'll call it ARPA, maybe, but anyway, that signing is significant, and it doesn't mean our work is less. It just means we may be able to do more. So welcome, everyone. And just to let you know, there are a variety of ways for those of you who are new to be involved with the coalition. This meeting is every Friday. We also meet on Wednesdays as a steering committee to plan a variety of things, and we stay after this meeting to plan the agenda for the following week. So if you have interest in something that you'd like us to talk about and you're new, that's a good thing if you can stay. We recognize people's time is very important, and we're really grateful that you're here. So one thing we do at this time is just to welcome new folks and give people a chance just to say who they are, and if they're associated with a group or a project, to just mention it. It's not a time for long discussion because we only have a few minutes, but if there's someone here today for the first time or coming back after a time away, someone maybe who's speaking for us today, just introduce yourself, unmute your microphone, and let us know who you are.
Hi, Rosemary. This is Sherry with Vallejo. I wanted to introduce a couple new folks that we have at Vallejo. Judy Taylor is here on the line, and Judy is our new shelter coordinator officially. She's not new to operating our shelters, but she's new to our official role as shelter coordinator. So she is working with Bethlehem Baptist, and I'll let her do a brief intro. And then we also have Benjamin McLean on the line. Benjamin, are you here? I don't see your face. And Benjamin is our, oh, there you are. You have two Benjamins here. And Benjamin is our TEP case manager. So he's working with folks to enroll into our employment pathway through the emergency shelters. So I'll let him say hello.
All right, so Judy, any more?
Yeah, I can go, Rosemary. My name is Gina Capadue, and I am at Children's Home Society of Washington. So I'm welcoming back myself to this group.
Welcome back. Judy, anything else you'd like to say? Judy?
I'm Judy Taylor. I've been working with Vallejo for 6 months, and now I'm, like she said, I'm the shelter manager at Bethlehem, and thank you and welcome.
Wonderful to have you here. And Benjamin, I don't see you, but is there?
Oh, good morning, everyone. My name is Benjamin McLean. I'm relatively new here at Vallejo, but I'm enjoying it as a case manager, working with people that are working to overcome their barriers and just trying to help them in any way I can, and just build up their mind, their body, and their soul. I really enjoy it, and that's what I love to do. Happy to be here.
Welcome. Really important work. Thank you for being here.
Judy, my name is Bob.
I'd like to introduce Slim, who's a member of the 38th Street encampment.
Hello, my name is Craig Jensen, and I'm here on behalf of the homeless individuals on 38th Street.
Welcome, and you'd like to go by Slim?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, welcome, Slim. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Bob, I think you were about ready to say something.
Yes, thank you. My name is Bob Volbrecht. I am a retired community volunteer. Spend most of my time supporting Children's Home Society of Washington, working with Gina. I also volunteer at Fish Food Bank and am part of the Key Peninsula Broadband Initiative, easy for me to say. And working again with Gina and a host of 76, I think, members now in our Gig Harbor Key Peninsula Housing and Homeless Coalition.
Wonderful to have you here, Bob. Thank you.
Hi, I am Hannah Martinson. I'm with the Tacoma Center YMCA, and we started the shower program back up again. And so that is my role here.
Wonderful, Hannah. Really important offer for people. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy, and I am a project manager with AM Trace. It's a company based out of Virginia. I actually talked to Garrett yesterday, who's the one who told me about this call, so I hopped on. Essentially, we're in the process of submitting a proposal to the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department for COVID-19 vaccine outreach work. So setting up vaccinations, just outreach and getting people educated and aware about the vaccines and really getting them to come to the events and things like that. So my purpose here is to kind of introduce myself, let people know that we're looking for partners in this work. So if anybody's interested in partnering with us or you have additional questions, I can put my contact information in the chat once I figure that out, so that you can reach out to me for questions or just to get more details. So
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jackson with Vallejo. I'm a recruiter. I'm actually logged in under Benjamin's. My link had me set up for 9 p.m. So he had to send me a link from his
Oh,
email.
yeah.
How you guys doing today?
Well, welcome. And what was your name again, since you're Benjamin on the screen?
Jackson with Vallejo.
Jackson. Well, okay, welcome very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, if someone else is here who hasn't introduced themselves and you would like to put your name in the chat, we can also check in with you if there's something you would like to network about. This is a good place to do it. So Rob, back to you.
Thank you, Rosemary, and welcome everybody. Great to see so many new faces here today. So let's move on to our This Week on the Streets section. And this week, I think we're going to be especially informed since Jeffrey has Slim joining us. So let's move right into that, Jeffrey.
Very good. 38th Street encampment is an encampment I've been I'm a chaplain, and I've been spending time with them for several months now. And so I'm going to pass this on to Slim. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Craig Jensen, and originally I'm from Buffalo, New York, the snow capital of the country. And let me tell you, it is literally a snow capital. I grew up there with parents who sheltered me from individuals such as myself. It's given me cause for concern over the years. The fact that my homelessness has spiraled out of control to drug addiction. My drug addiction was a main cause of concern in the last couple of years of my life because of my health problems. In the past, I've received Social Security disability for my health problems, but unfortunately, my drug addiction overcame all the things that I needed to do to cause positive action in my life. In the last 10 years, though, I've taken the time and isolated myself from the negativities in my life and overcame my drug addictions. But the problem I keep finding myself coming into is that even with the changes that I've made in my life over the years, I'm still homeless. I've tried multiple different things trying to overcome the homelessness problem. I've been basically unable to overcome it due to the fact that I haven't had any outside help. I've had multiple individuals from the housing department who came to our camps in the past and have attempted to give us individuals certain programming that could help us and have positive changes in our lives. And unfortunately, there was nobody who ever followed through with them. When I tried to contact these certain individuals, I could never contact them. I understand that Tacoma has wonderful programs and multitude of programs that are instituted to help individuals such as myself overcome the negativities in my life. And a lot of them were wonderful, but a lot of them I was unable to get involved in due to my medical problems being so severe. Unfortunately, those issues will still be with me until the day that I die.
You gotta get wired up right around here.
Yeah.
I didn't find it. Who's a computer tech geek? Go ahead.
Okay. And so basically, I feel that homelessness, unfortunately, is something that will never go away. And I've been homeless myself now for going on 32 years. 32 years is long enough. I'm in my mid 50s now, and I'm getting quite concerned with my ability to survive out in the outside with the cold and the rain and things like this that affect us more when we get older. And I know for a fact that after spending so many years outside that that there can't be too many more winters spent outside at my age, you know. I feel that the fix for homelessness is to teach our future leaders, our youngsters, our kids, on how to prevent it and how to stop having negative things happen in our lives causing us to become homeless, such as drug addiction, alcoholism, mental illness, all the things that unfortunately help those stay out here. Someday, being the fact that I probably will never go back indoors, but if I don't, I want to be an advocate for individuals on the street, such as myself, because it would be more adaptive for a person such as myself to talk to people such as Jeffrey, and then I can talk to the individuals who are homeless and come across to these people a little bit more on their level. It allows these individuals to voice their opinions on multiple subjects pertaining to homelessness and the reasoning for being out here. Jeffrey has been very, very helpful in assisting many people here on 38th Street with the things that are necessary to survive with, and it's a wonderful thing to have, and it's a wonderful thing if we could keep up the things that are needed to make sure that things go smoothly. I really appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to you guys today, and I really hope that someday that we could come together and figure out how to fix these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Slim, for sharing your story. Your perspective is one that we really need to hear, so thank you very much. So we have a couple more minutes if folks want to share any recent or new changes on the streets that they've seen this week.
Hey, yes, I would like to share something.
I don't know who you are.
My name is Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I'm working on starting an outreach for, I think we have a lot of organizations in our city, but we're not organized. So I feel like restructuring needs to happen for all of our organizations to excel. So for starters, and we need to start with, before we move all the homeless people or help all the homeless people or get people off the streets, period, in our city, we have to at least build something. We can't tell people to move without a place to go. That's defeating the purpose every time you do it. Every time you do it, that doesn't make any sense. So you're taking a homeless person that's tearing up this area and having to go tear up another area. No, that doesn't work. So what I propose is, I don't know what the city got. I don't know what the county got as far as resources and buildings, but I would like to come around. I have a way that we can structure homelessness.
An idea.
I have a way that we can, see, that's what I'm more on. See, we can structure this thing.
Well, thank you very much for your bringing this up. I think it'd be more appropriate to bring it up at the end of our meeting today, when we do kind of our good of the order items. But we definitely appreciate you being here. We were just focused on what's actually happening on the streets in this portion of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, there's been a lot of food being passed out. I've been seeing that. Some camps are, staying tidy, keeping up with, their area. And for what I've seen is, more needs to be done, but yeah, things are being done. I've been seeing the trucks go by, and food has been being distributed. Good people have been doing things. So I've been seeing that.
Perfect.
However, Rob, hey, this is Patricia, and we're kind of sharing a camera because he wanted to sit in with me. But
sure.
I've been there probably for the last 2 weeks about every day, and I'm noticing that number one, we're getting there's a waste of food. People are just coming and just dropping it off, so there's lots and lots and lots of it, and it's just going to waste. And the other thing, there's no community outreach workers that are coming there to say, hey, here's how I can help you to get into housing, or these are the resources that I have for you. There's no one doing that. People are just coming, dropping off food and masks and things, and then going. And that's kind of, it's kind of, we're almost going around a circle here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure, I've missed a couple meetings, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you guys have on the table to try to move forward with this and to try to resolve this problem. Because I do know that it was that a couple weeks ago, you said November 1st, you wanted to get the camps cleared up. Am I correct about that?
We have set a goal to end street homelessness by November 1st, correct?
I've gotten 2 people signed up for treatment, and 2 people have applied for the HEN program, which I have knowledge about. So I'm trying to do my part. Now, this is just as on my own because I don't see that there are any social services. You gotta be quiet while I'm talking. I don't see any social services or outreach. No one's coming to say, hey, what can I do to help you?
Well, thank you for that perspective, Patricia. I do know that there has been outreach into that space. And it's possible that the timing hasn't worked where you've seen people there, but we definitely, appreciate that perspective. So let's move on to our first presentation of this morning. I want to introduce Tammy Riles from Comprehensive Life Resources. Tammy's joining us today to talk about centralized diversion funds. So Tammy, do you have anything that I need to prepare to share screen or any of that thing like that for you?
No, my computer deleted my presentation. So I was something prepared for you guys, but I'm not sure what happened. I would like to blame the screaming baby, but I really can't. So but
we will make the most of the time. So
you have the floor. Do my best.
Perfect.
I apologize to everybody. Okay, so centralized diversion funds. I wanted to come and share this information so everybody has it. The centralized diversion funds is exactly what it sounds like. It's diversion funds, but it's specifically for the youth and young adult experiencing homelessness. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a brief explanation, and then I'll just kind of leave it open for questions. So we do serve, the CDF serves between ages of 12 to 24. unaccompanied youth or young adult who are unsheltered, literally homeless, or unstable situations, couching or doubling up. So it's a little bit more flexible than the normal diversion funds that we're used to working within, right? Like, so if a youth is couch surfing, we don't necessarily have to follow the very strict HUD guidelines. We're able to use this funding to help them get housing. There's also, this is a low barrier funding. So what that means is we're able to use it in a more creative way. It still has to lead to them being permanently housed. So we can't use it for IDs or bus passes, but we could use it for everybody doing these great creative conversations we're having with these young folks and all these great ideas that the young folks themselves are having to what their idea of, you know, a successful housing option would be. We're able to use this funding to really like hone around that. And that's really great information and really great thing to have. So right now, oh, also I want to say there is no money cap within reason, right? Like, so if let me use an example of one we just did. We paid off a youth previous balance with a landlord, and that same landlord like agreed that if they paid off this balance, we could move them into a new unit. And we were able to do that without like a cap. Like we were able to do that to get this youth housed. And so it again, it's still diversion fund, but we're able to use it in a different way, which is really, really wonderful for these young folks. Again, ages 12 to 24. Sorry guys, my presentation being gone has making me wing this at this point. So one thing is it's available to anybody within Pierce County. So right now we have 40, I believe, people, agencies that are people within our agencies that are certified to use this funding. Right now, I think I have a total of 6 people actively using it. So there's a lot of people who haven't had a chance to use it. And so we could, if you are interested, we do hold trainings almost every month. If you are working within these populations and want to get certified to access these funds, the funds are super easy to access. Once you're certified, you'll get a link to a request form. You submit the request. Some documentation is needed for move-in, for like rentals, things like that. A W-9 is needed for the landlord, for relocation, and for relocation is just a letter from somebody saying like, yes, you know, my nephew's gonna come live with me. These are the requirements for him to live with me, XYZ. I don't want to get too far into the details because I know I want to be able to give you guys options to ask questions or give you time to ask questions. One other thing that I did want to talk about is we do have quite a bit of money to use. We still have, I would say, I don't want to give an exact number because I'm sure I'm wrong, but it's roughly around, I think a little over $100,000 still to use. So there's quite a lot of money to use. And there are, I'm sure there are, you know, cases that you've been on your caseload that's just been kind of waiting for this. So that's why I wanted to do this presentation, is to share this information, give you guys the option of reaching out to me and having, even if you just have questions, or one thing I love being the admin for is really kind of working one-on-one and doing almost like a case consult with somebody, be like, hey, can we use CDF for this? And we actually have like a deep conversation about what the need is, and we can kind of use our creative thinking minds and really kind of make an option for that. We are trying to work in a yes to yes mindset. So like, there's really not a no unless like it's a hard no, but really I'm trying to say yes to every request. So that's the idea. That's my brief little spill. I would like to leave it open for questions, and I'll put my email in the chat. So you guys can email me questions or ask about the certification process.
Perfect. And if you have anything, you can either share in the chat with a link to kind of base information, or even a link to the website with the base information. That would be awesome. And if you have anything you want to email to me to include, have us include on the pchomeless.org website, we can do that as well.
Perfect. That sounds wonderful.
I do see a question from Dwayne in the chat mentioning that Seattle had this same fund and it worked amazingly. How do we as case managers access these funds?
You would get certified. You would do it's a 2-day training. You would do the 2-day training to get certified as a CDF requester. And then you would just use the request form that you're given at the end of your 2-day training to access the funds. And then I'm the administrator for CDF in Pierce County. So then I would be processing your requests.
Great. And I'm not sure if you can see the chat as well.
Yes, I can. I'm trying to read it
Okay.
and talk at the same time, but without like.
It's difficult, yeah. I see Jenna asked what CMH share is. That's Comprehensive Life Resources. That's just their the email tag at the end of their email address. Maureen asking, are CDF funds federal money?
You asked a question I don't know.
I do know. Just Maureen, yes, Tammy works for me. And just real quick, so just to clarify, yeah, CDF, most of the funds come from Away Home Washington locally with in partnership with some foundations, so it's all local. And then we have a block amount that comes from the Department of Commerce at the state. So 0 federal dollars, but there are some government dollars.
Got it.
Thank you. Oh, and real quick, the timeline that Tammy's referring to is June 30th. 100,000 probably doesn't sound like a lot for a whole year, but our calendar year for this project ends at a fiscal year, June 30th. So we're trying to average something like 25 to 35,000 for the next 3 months, or 4 months if you count this month. We're doing pretty good. Like we've been getting pretty close, but there's anything we don't use, we lose. So we want to spend everything.
Perfect. And I see Dwayne asked a follow-up question about if there's going to be training offered.
Yes, I was just typing a response.
Okay.
The next training is in April. So if you are interested in, I believe it's April 11th. I'll double check my dates because I'm losing my mind lately. So I'll double check the dates, but I believe it is April 11th and 12th, but I'll double check.
Awesome.
But I also want to throw out one more thing. The money is very flexible, like Tammy said. We do have one threshold that says these dollars will equal the person being permanently housed in the next 15 days-ish. So we've had some conversations with our funder about like, if this person gets their certification or whatever paid for, then they can get a job and then they can find housing or whatever. The certification or whatever we're talking about has to equal housing in like the next couple of weeks. So if a landlord's saying, yes, this person gets employment, I'll rent to them like on faith, and all you need to do is get this employment done, then yeah, we could pay for that. If we don't have a landlord saying that, then all that project wouldn't be necessarily approved until we have like eminent housing. But the housing doesn't have to equal the person being on the lease. It could be a doubled up situation, or it could be reintegration with family. It could be a variety of things. It doesn't have to have the person's name on the lease, but it does have to be a situation where they won't be putting the household at risk if they're like couch surfing or whatever.
Great. And I see a couple of questions that Tammy's been able to answer in the chat. Does anybody else want to use the raise hand function and just ask their question verbally?
If I knew how.
Well, chat works too. All right. So thank you very much, Tammy. Sorry that your presentation was a challenge, but if you do have material that you can send our way, we'd be happy to share it with the full list and make sure that I think it's in the interest of everybody on this call that the dollars get out the door. So
Absolutely. And I thank you guys for giving me the time to share this information with you, and also dealing with the screaming toddler. So I really appreciate that.
And then one other thing too, if you yourself are working with a client who needs case management, I have a case manager who's CDF trained, is a young adult supervisor at my shelter, and is willing to take referrals as the case manager. If you're just like, oh, I have a person and they need the whole gamut plus CDF funding, and I'll put her name and her information in the chat. If you don't need that, if you're the case manager and you're just looking for the dollars, then Tammy gave you the information to connect with the money, but then you would remain as the case manager. So I'll put a little information again if you're looking for some case management to go along with your young adult who's homeless, who needs the CDF funding.
perfect. Thanks, James. All right. So I think we will shift to a quick poll that Garrett has put together. Cue that up. And if you want to introduce it, Garrett, that'd be awesome.
Oh, at another meeting Maureen and I go to, they often ask kind of who you're representing at the meeting. And I think it's a really interesting question. This particular poll is basically kind of characteristics of you, and it's multiple choice. You can select as many as represent you. So just kind of see who's in the room, really.
Perfect.
Am I supposed to launch the poll?
I think so.
Yay.
There we go.
Lots of words on there. So how would you describe yourself? A volunteer, someone with lived experience, government employee, an outreach worker, shelter provider, another homeless provider. That's my catch-all for rapid rehousing, or you're doing inside passages case management or something. Nonprofit employee, that's a lot of us. For-profit business, other. So again, you can check as many as you are. And we can slip on to the next thing, and I'll just sort of post the results maybe.
Yeah, we can give it a second here. I see we've got about 50 of 74 who've done the poll. So.
Look at all those nonprofit employees. Well, I guess you can't look at it. Maybe I'm the only one looking at it because I can't vote.
Yeah, I can't vote either, but I'm seeing the results. All right, so we've had 64 of 74 folks voted. We will move on to the next item. You want to report out on that?
Sure. Looks like 39 of us are nonprofit employees. We have 11 people with lived experience, which honestly is I think exciting, so that we have that kind of voice in the room. Lots of advocates, 15 volunteers. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good stretch. Not 3 people from for-profit business, which again, it's exciting to see how we span the group of people that care about homelessness. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you save that, Garrett?
I was just going to figure that out.
Okay, good.
I just did a screenshot of it, so we at least have that.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep, you're welcome. So our next item on the agenda, I want to ask Gina and Robert from the Gig Harbor Key Peninsula Housing and Homeless Coalition to offer an overview of what's going on in that part of the county and help us know how we can all be connected.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody so much for having us here. I'm the Gina Cabadoo, half of that duo. We've got Bob Volbracht on the line. Bob, you want to introduce yourself also? You're on mute though, if you are. Oh, no.
Sorry. Yep. Again, just community volunteer and advocate. I do what Gina tells me to do, and I survive quite nicely that way.
I just really appreciate how innovative Bob is, but really I think what we connected on was his partnership with Harbor Hope Center, which is a local agency here in Gig Harbor that's looking to address housing within our community. So essentially my role is I serve as the community manager for the Children's Home Society of Washington branch in Key Peninsula. So we're on the other half of Pierce County. So I supervise the staff that provide the services in Pierce and Mason County. I do all the fundraising and reporting for our public, private, and individual funding. So I have kind of a unique experience where my team is small but mighty. We've got about 6 of us, myself included. I'm the only full-time employee, but we serve about 1,500 different people a year between Key Peninsula and Gig Harbor. So homelessness definitely impacts our communities. And so our mission at Children's Home Society is about developing healthy children, creating strong families, and building engaged communities to speak and advocate for communities. That's what this is, right? We cannot have healthy children. We need to have housing stability to create stronger families. But what this is building engaged communities through exactly what this coalition is doing. And so we live that mission through the direct service where we do engage with people directly experiencing homelessness. A lot of it is basic needs. So we work with families to give, warm clothing items, food cards, gas cards, but we also do rental and utility assistance to prevent the homelessness issues where we can. But what we're really seeing is that there's just not enough resources, right? There's not enough low income housing. There's not going to be enough rental and utility assistance to be able to get people through at all times. And so really what we're doing, what I'm excited about, is this coalition that Bob and I are chairs of, along with one of our colleagues who's Chandra from Chapel Hill Church. And this coalition that we started was back in 2020, but it was actually originated by Joy Stanford. And I think many people on this call know Joy Stanford from formerly Shared Housing Services. And Joy and I used to attend these meetings, and she and I were kind of the advocates, she even more so with her consistency about, well, what's going on in the Key and Gig Harbor? We understand the providers that are in Tacoma. We understand Pierce County's got issues, but like, hey, we're over here too, and we've got families that have needs. And so really what we wanted was to bring those resources, bring the knowledge, and just bring the awesome work that you all have been doing on this coalition and be able to make it work within our culture and our part of the community. And so really what happened is this got kicked off in 2020 and then COVID happened. And like many others, plans got derailed. So this got picked back up at the end of 2020. And really what brought me to joining this coalition was there's things happening now that a year and a half ago, people would have looked at us and said, that will never, ever happen. Hotels have been leased to house people experiencing homelessness. That wouldn't have happened before. There's talk about purchasing hotels and being able to use those for direct services. That wouldn't have happened before. We've had empty schools be utilized by advocates. That wouldn't have happened before. And so my passion for this is that I personally have been impacted by this. I have a 6-year degree. I have a master's in social work from the University of Washington, Tacoma. I have a decent paying job, but I could not afford the rent in Gig Harbor, and it pushed me to move into an RV on a space in the Key Peninsula. And so that's really my passion that comes to this. And what we're looking to do with this coalition is we've got about 80 members and we're growing more. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say day by day, if not week by week. It's really a cohort just like this of public entities, private nonprofits, faith-based people, and then of course volunteers. And what we're doing with this coalition that I'm so excited about is that we're examining a big range of different options. We've looked at things that I'm sure are very familiar to this group. How could we make safe parking happen in our community? How could we support Harbor Hope Center and their mission because they were able to get housing for teenagers within our community? What could we possibly do with innovations like cargotecture? How could we build on what Puyallup is doing for overnight shelters being shared among different churches? What's going on with the land trust? Everything that encompasses that and beyond. And then we're also keeping a really close eye on what's going on in the legislature, because of course that's going to have widespread impacts for how we all get to do the work that we want to, but most importantly, how it actually impacts people exactly like Slim. And I'm so glad that Slim got to share his story. So we're looking at the moratorium, we're looking at gas taxes, we're looking at tenant evictions and protection bills that are going through the legislature. So we're really keeping a big eye on what's going on at the high level that's going to impact directly the families that we're all trying to serve. But also we're looking to leverage the power of that membership to create real-time connections and referrals. So one of the things I've already heard here today is exactly the piece about there's all these agencies that are trying to organize and do the work. There's people that are missing opportunities for follow-up. And so essentially we've been able to create in real time, oh, I know a family that needs this. Oh, well, you could go talk to our partner over here that has those resources. And by the way, they've been trying to serve that same person. So now we can communicate together and be able to have a better impact for that direct person. So beyond that, I think the other thing I'm really excited about that this coalition is doing is it's really looking encompassingly at some of the other issues that we know impact housing insecurity. So public transportation is not something that exists on the Key Peninsula. what would it take to get it out there so that people experiencing homelessness can actually get where they need to go, be able to get to and from whatever housing solutions we can and will implement within our community. We're talking about broadband. I'm not sitting in that room with you that we all used to do at the church every single Friday. We're having a Zoom content, and technology is a vital piece in families accessing resources and being able to build their own skill sets and their assets so that they have more housing security. And then we're also looking at employment. What kind of barriers do people looking to get employment that will provide solid income for housing security so that we can address those and make it easier for people to have access? So that's a lot of what our coalition's been working on. Bob, did I miss anything in there?
Well, I think, Gina, to the gentleman that is with Patricia Washington, you know, his comment was there's a lot of entities that don't seem to be as coordinated or organized together as they might be from his perspective. And I would agree with that. I think the coalition's impact in the last 6 months has been exactly that. We have brought many community members together who were individually doing wonderful work and funding programs, and sometimes at cross purposes. They would even start to compete with one another. I think we've introduced them to each other. We've opened up channels of communication, and they are now cooperating to the point where we're having a better impact and looking at actually not just what happens tomorrow for our residents in need, but ongoing, giving them a way to become self-sufficient and a plan to get there. So the community is starting to evolve and embrace those concepts. And I think the coalition has helped do that. And just a quick, again, shout out, I can't not do this. Maureen, Kevin, Garrett, you have just been tremendous support to us. Without that, we'd be still floundering around a little bit. You guys have been proactive. You've reached out to us. You've made numerous suggestions and introduced us to other people. We will not waste or you know, not certainly appreciate your confidence in us, and we have to earn some more of that because I'm going to keep using it. I won't. Well, that's kind of it, Gene. I think for those of you that may not know, we have a real have and have nots here, like most communities. Gig Harbor is an extremely wealthy community in many respects. Some of that exists on the Key Peninsula, but mostly on the Key Peninsula, it is rural, it is poverty level. We have no shelters, we have no transitional housing, no prospect of getting any, based on what the county has told us for quite a while. So we're aggressively looking at ways, as Gina mentioned, to change the county's mind and come up with concept to provide transitional and short-term housing using RVs and trailers on church properties, safe parking lots. So it sounds to me, Gina, when you were talking about it, like, oh, how can they possibly do all that? Well, you know, we're actually doing it. But again, not without a lot of support from you all and people in this community. So I guess that's all I would add.
Awesome. So I think really I've already seen some messages in the chat about like how can people get engaged. And so what I've done here is I've dropped my contact information, and Bob, if you can drop yours too, because I was in the middle of typing it out. We meet every other Thursday. We just had our last meeting last week. And so we originally thought about maybe we could meet once a month, but we want this to move forward. We want solutions implemented. We don't want talk, we want action. And so that's why we're meeting every other week. We meet at 10 a.m. It goes to about 11. We're very considerate about keeping it to an hour. And we just look at different examinations of opportunities for solutions that we could implement. And then we have fantastic speakers just like Maureen that presented yesterday about what's going on at the high level and what's going on locally so that we can really just coordinate these efforts. So if there's any questions, Bob and I are happy to hear them.
Yeah, and again, you can use the raise hand function to queue up for questions, or use the chat, or if you need to and your only option is you can unmute and ask that way.
I agree with you there in the chat though, Jared, about the shelter, the short-term housing being necessary on the Key and Gig Harbor, for sure.
Gina, you have a Russell Family Foundation in Gig Harbor. Are you guys connected with them, and are they supportive in this whole effort?
I actually have a meeting scheduled to get with the CEO that's recently been appointed, and so we're going to chat with her about how things are going. But thank you, Al. If you've got any other connectors, I'd love to know about them.
And Gina, I don't know if you've been in contact yet with Colin DeForest about safe parking. It sounds like that might be something.
Bob, you want to chat about that? That was an awesome connection.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe, Kevin, you referred Colin to us.
Right.
Found him through another webinar program about faith-based organizations taking a role in preventing and supporting community homelessness. So we actually were on a Zoom with Colin 2 days ago, have all his updated information. Valuable. All of that information, Colin provided all of the packets that we have prepared have gone out now to about 21 churches. I'll finish up the rest when Gina gives me an hour or two off. All in all, we'll get about 37 churches involved by Tuesday. So Kevin, thank you very much.
Love you guys' energy.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Any other questions? I see Maureen has her hand up. And you're muted, Maureen.
That's for everybody's good. I can't remember how to raise my hand on the picture, but thanks, Gina and Bob, for your kind words, but your incredible work. So we've got a small housing development loan fund that's private investors have brought and to us, and we're just in the process of trying to shape what that looks like. And I've put this out to the coalition at a meeting before, but one of the things to look at, I think, is if you're going to move down the RV or trailer route, one of the things that Greg Walker and I had worked on a couple of years ago was the possibility of making it possible for people to actually buy those so they can develop that. Even though it's a depreciating asset, it is an asset that they could take with them if employment or life takes them somewhere else. So think about, I know you've already got some sort of pro forma around that. So think about what it might take. This is loan money and it doesn't exist yet, but there's $500,000 on the table. And I've got a couple of other folks who have come forward and said, basically, if you can figure out some way that I can see the tangible result of my investment in this fund in our community, then yeah, I'd put money in. And I suspect there are more people like that at the upper end of income or wealth who really want to use their money for the common good. So yeah, don't answer right now, but just get back to me. Think about what would that look like. And if anybody on the call wants to put money in, let me know that too. So
I think Bob could speak to that a little bit. He's looked into this and I'm pretty excited about where it's going. Bob, can you speak to it a bit?
Yeah, just quickly. That's all. Thank you, Maureen. That's part of our program. I can go down. We already have RV partners, retail and wholesale sellers who are offering to help find used RVs, who are offering to help source new RVs and or travel trailers. You know, I can go down today and give them $5,000 and bring home a 32-footer in a couple days that'll serve a single mother with 2 kids. And the payment on that's going to be under $275 a month. So we've approached, along with the safe parking concept with the faith-based community, we've approached them to say, hey, you guys, why don't you sponsor or adopt a family? And if you can't do it, partner with another church. Or we're out in the community as well saying, here's a fund. We're gonna set it up. kick in a couple $100, right? Yeah, give us $25 a month and we'll take care of this. Totally doable. Yes, it is a depreciating item, but the standard of living it provides is going to help them enough and certainly stabilize their lives to let them get back to being self-sufficient. And I think that's the bottom line for us. Thank you.
Yeah, the piece that I wanted to add for Bob is I'm also, because we all wear many hats, the president of the Key Peninsula Business Association, and I'm working really closely with the Gig Harbor Chamber of Commerce. And so I think there's real opportunity to have those conversations from the business standpoint of engaging businesses about how it impacts their business, their margins, their revenues, talking with banks and institutions about what could loans look like, partnering with United Way about financial literacy classes. So I think those are things well underway, Maureen. Thank you.
Great.
Gina, since you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, the Tacoma Chamber of Commerce has got a committee working on this whole issue, and we're connecting with them. You might want to try to bridge the two chambers.
Sounds great. Thank you, Al.
Great. So any final questions for Gina and Bob? Yeah, lots of clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys being able to make the time to come here, and I'll work with Kevin and Maureen and Garrett. We'll see if there's ways that we can cross-pollinate our groups to have a greater impact across the whole county. Just so that people know, one of the reasons we wanted to invite Gina and Bob here today, we also want to invite in the coalition that's working around homelessness in the Puyallup area. We're trying to get that broader perspective of what's happening in the county, because with our commitment to push for ending street homelessness by the end of November or beginning of November, we need to, one of those first steps in the Built for Zero plan would be building the master list of who is currently homeless, so we can start working with those individuals. And we have to understand the situation across the whole county, not just where so many of the services are currently located in Tacoma. So thank you again. All right, so let's transition, speaking of Tacoma, to a breakout group around to help inform the City of Tacoma's homelessness plan. Tegan, I queued it up for you if you'd like to take the stage.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Such good stuff happening today. It's good to see everybody. I hope everyone's enjoying the sunshine. I sure am. I want to start with also thanking Slim. I took a lot of notes, and I think he actually teed up this conversation pretty well with some of the things he highlighted from his experiences being on the street. And it looks like he left Jeffrey, but so there's a couple of things I want to highlight before we get into the breakout session. So the first is I always like to kind of discuss our boundaries that the city has, and that's usually legislatively. So the first thing that we operate between is, of course, Martin v. Boise, and their ruling around criminalization of homelessness. So we're very aware of that, and we try to align and make sure that we are adhering to all those guidelines. The second one is the CDC guidelines for COVIDs and encampments. Even though we talk about street outreach, we know street outreach goes to encampments. So I just want to highlight that as well. The other thing I want to share is our focus on racial disparities in the homeless system. So we're really leaning into the Spark report, and the two things that they highlight from that I think that are really relevant to today's discussion is the first one is individuals that are in the criminal justice system and how that can strap them from getting into housing, employment. Also, we know that sometimes that can also keep them on the streets in a variety of ways, and behavioral health issues and substance use disorder. So those are two that I really want to highlight in this as well. And something that I also kind of want to start getting in our minds when we think about this, and there's going to be some other sessions I'll announce a little bit later as well, is how do we define success for each of these areas? How do we show that we're moving the needle? Like maybe we don't fully resolve it, but how do we start moving it so we can keep growing and expanding? And currently for street outreach, the way the city has been defining success is successful placements from street outreach. So that means getting an individual or family off the street, whether that's emergency shelter, a treatment facility, transitional housing, things of that sort. And also how many of them have accessed services such as rental assistance, utility assistance, free meals. We know it looks different for each individual of how they're on the street. So those are some of the things I want to think about too, like how do we show that those services are making an impact? So today's question, which of course I will put in the chat. We've got a couple. It might be easier if I just, let me put it in there first. The first thing we wanted to think about was who's conducting the street outreach? What skills and trainings make them successful in their work? And what additional programming should be developed to conduct this work well? And then considering some of the things we were just saying about some of the higher barriers that clients have, being involved in criminal justice, behavioral health, substance use disorder, what types of additional programming should be developed and invested in to support those needs and moving them towards stability? So those are the big questions. Like I said, I'm a visual person. I'll put it in the chat so people that need to see it. Do we have any questions before we start? I hope that was pretty encompassing rounding part. And I know Rob will do his groups.
Yes. So what I'm going to do is divide everybody up into small groups of 5 to 6 people. We're going to take 15 minutes to talk about the topics. And I will work with Tegan to make sure that we put the questions will be pasted periodically into the announcements portion during the meeting or during the breakout room so that you can see those questions. There's quite a few, so there'll probably be 3 different things that I paste as you have your conversation. The hope is that in the breakout rooms, there'll be somebody who's assigned to take notes. And when we come back to the full group, you can just paste your notes, if you're the note taker, into the chat so that we can capture that and get it back to Tegan. Tegan, did you want to kind of, one thing I don't think you really did was kind of queued up exactly what this is informing for folks who might be new.
Yeah, absolutely. So the homeless strategy framework is we're looking at really the continuum of homelessness in each area and looking for strategies, goals, and outcomes so that we can really see how we invest our work to build a stronger continuum to support individuals experiencing homelessness or they're unstably housed so that we can make the largest impact in this and create better outcomes for everybody and hopefully end their episode of homelessness.
All right, so any questions for the large group before we move into the breakout rooms? All right, so I'm going to set this up and like I said, we will spend 15 minutes. So we'll be back here roughly 10:13-ish.
I'm glad to hear conversation was being had and it was good. So, so Tegan, do you want to say any parting words before we move on to the next item in the agenda?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Lots of good discussion. I'm sorry, it sounds like people wanted to keep going.
That's a good thing.
So yeah, that is a great thing. So something I want to highlight is we were discussing earlier this week about having an additional couple of forums coming up where we can dig deeper into these ideas. And so we're strategizing that now, and probably by next week, probably the 15th, 16th, somewhere in there. So that's early next week sometime. We're hoping that we can present those dates to you, so you know when we can have a larger forum and really dig deep into some of these ideas and look at goals and strategies and stuff. So I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you when it comes. So
Great.
Thanks everybody. I always appreciate your feedback and your participation.
Great. And what I will remind everybody is I see a couple of folks, Teresa and Greg, mentioning grabbing notes from the sessions. Just do your best to summarize what the conversation was so we can get the high points to Tegan after the meeting. The whole point of these kind of working breakout groups is just to, one, we all get to see each other and chat in a smaller setting than the big screen of faces. But second, that we can actually bounce some ideas off of each other and get a little bit of brainstorming around these topics. So I'm glad to hear that was a useful use of time. What we will do now is transition into doing government updates. And Tegan, I don't know if you caught the questions that were being raised about the situation at 8th and Yakima, and whether you can offer any kind of update about how what is happening there from the city's perspective, and what has changed with the new hygiene station and bathrooms and security there.
Yeah, so we set up a hygiene station on March 5th that has porta potties, hand washing, and garbage. So as far as we know, I hadn't heard any concerns as of yesterday. Did something happen and I might have missed that?
No, I think the concern that was brought up was about kind of overflow of resources, especially food, to the site, and that things are going to waste. And then also a concern about whether outreach workers are coming to the site coming into the encampments to provide any outreach help, case management, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so food is new. I wasn't aware of that. So I'll make sure to pass that along to my team as well. So I know our HOT team, our homeless outreach team, is going there daily. So they should be there. If we feel like there's more resources that are needed, we can discuss that with other street outreach teams. But as far as I know, it's been going pretty well. I'll talk to them about the food to see if we can get a different kind of distribution or something else so that isn't going to waste, since we know there's food could be needed elsewhere. But yeah, that's
fantastic.
Station. Yeah.
Yeah, because in my experience, and maybe Jeffrey has perspective from over at the 38th Street site, but I see quite frequently on Yakima a lot of what just look like kind of ad hoc community members stopping by and dropping things off, and I'm wondering how much of the excess that might show up at the site is really about that.
That's a really great point. We know that does happen. So I'm going to reach out to my team after this that does that work and kind of see what they're seeing and how we can better organize and strategize that. I appreciate that feedback.
Perfect. Jeffrey, I saw your hand up briefly.
I think one of Tegan, it's good to see you again. And one of the things that we had initially was there was no signage. And so the campers were going, we can't use that because it's on private property. And so I don't know if signage got put back up, but at least letting the campers know that they can use it would have been helpful initially.
Great, thanks, Jeffrey. I'll double check on that as well.
Great. Tegan, did you have anything else for the city that you wanted to update before we move into the rest of government updates?
I do, since I'll just be the first government update then.
Perfect.
Okay, I also want to remind everyone that Salvation Army Warming Center is still continuing to serve men, has a capacity of 35 beds. I believe they do have some availability. So, if there's any single men that are needing shelter, please reach out to them. Our rental assistance is still going strong, so staff continues to work with the county to align our efforts to provide rental assistance. Pierce County, in partnership with the city, launched a rental assistance portal on Monday, March 8th. So residents may find more information. I can put the link would probably be more helpful than me saying and spell it all out. And the program provides up to 12 months of rental assistance dating back to March of 2020. And serves households up to 80% of Pierce County median income. And the applicants may also qualify for utility assistance through those programs. And the city's rental assistance fund at the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation has received 26 gifts totaling $29,320. So that's fantastic. And we are also continuing to look for a homeless program manager interim. So I know that process, when we have it, we will be announcing it, and we're hoping that the coalition will have input on the permanent selection process. So I think those are my big updates. Oh, also, we did have a tour of the Beacon Center this Tuesday for individuals to look at the youth and young adult shelter and drop-in center. So that occurred. We only had one person show up of the four that said they were going to come. So I'm just reaching out if people are still interested. We can still reach out to Vicki McLaurin if you're still interested in seeing that space at all. And that does close, the RFP closes on March 23rd. So thanks, everybody.
Great, thank you, Tegan. So next on our agenda for government updates, usually it would be Valerie, but I see Jeff Rogers here. Jeff, were you going to do an update for Pierce County?
Yes, good morning. I can give that quick update. Thank you, Tegan, for leading into what I'm going to share a little bit more of regarding the rental assistance program. What a week. I'll just share with you that Valerie worked probably 16 hours over the weekend, this past weekend, to get this portal up and running, working with our vendor. It took a lot of extra time. The portal opened for renters, tenants to apply. In case you don't know, almost 2 weeks ago, we opened the portal for landlords to go in and enter landlord information so that we can move the process quicker. And so far, we have had 925 different landlords enter their information into the system, which is a great thing, which will move things quicker. As of this morning, we had just over 9,000 users, as we're calling them, who have logged into the portal and created an account, because every household can create an account and track the progress within the system of their application, which is really great compared to what we did with the CARES Act in 2020. Of those 9,067 users, 7,387 of them have started an application, which means they've begun to fill in the application. And of that, 3,472 have hit the submit button, which means they have all the documents required and all the materials, all the information in there. Another great feature is that if I go in today to start applying, and there's something I need or information I don't have at my quick fingertips, I can save where I'm at and go back on another day and just move from there to update it versus restarting all over. So 3,472 applications have been submitted. We expect the other roughly 3,500, 3,700 that are in process to be submitted soon. So it's a very popular site. It hasn't crashed. Valerie was fearful it might crash on Monday because we got a lot of applications on Monday, but it hasn't. So we're really promoting this program, getting the word out across the community. So that is some really, really good news. Another piece of information I'll share is that we've also been very, very busy trying to allocate our Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus funding. We finally made decisions. Those recommendations were finalized this past week. Providers who applied were notified of their awards or denials if they received a denial. We have funded 15 projects. Out of those 15 projects, we're funding street outreach. We're funding emergency shelter expansion. We're funding that emergency shelter expansion is overnight shelter. And we were also funding some new day shelter programs so that there are locations that people can go to during the daytime. And we're funding rapid rehousing. Those dollars are roughly $7.4 million that'll be hitting the street. Our goal is to rapidly and quickly get those contracts turned around. Some of those funds go through December of this year, mainly for temporary emergency shelter, but all other activities that we're funding, the money is available through September of 2021. So the permanent emergency shelter we're funding, the rapid rehousing programs we're funding, and the street outreach work we're doing goes through September of next year. So it's a little longer period of time to spend a portion of those $7.4 million. Real quickly, I'll just share, and this is just off the top of my head, just from being wowed by the numbers. It's roughly, and this might shock quite a few people, we've never put this much of an investment into street outreach, but it's roughly $1.5 million in street outreach. I'll tell you, the county has never funded more than $100,000 in street outreach. So that's a significant, significant increase in funding in street outreach that's being provided. So when we did what my manager called think tanks, and we asked for feedback from the community, and we heard what the community felt the need was, we clearly heard the need for street outreach programs. So as you see, there's a huge investment in that work that we're investing in. Roughly around $2 million for overnight shelters. I think it's 500,000 or 600,000 roughly for day shelters, and then roughly around 2 million, don't hold me to the exact number, that's going into rapid rehousing. And what we've tried to do with these dollars is if someone ends up in an overnight shelter, pairing them and linking them to one of the rapid rehousing programs that are funded, so that hopefully we're moving people out of the temporary emergency shelters, which is by the end of this year, which I believe kind of fits in with your initiative to end street homelessness, which potentially could free up space in certain areas. The priority for these rapid rehousing units that are available is for people that are in these temporary programs, so that we're working to help them move out of the programs that are the temporary programs, and we don't have this huge bottleneck of people that once these programs end could end up homeless. So that's the hope, that's the goal, that's the intent of the emergency shelter funding and the rapid rehousing funding that's in this program. So that's the quick update that I have on the two
So do they have actual patients to see?
updates that I can provide today.
Thank you, Jeff. And Craig, did that address your question that you posted in the chat?
Not exactly. I just typed in the follow-up as my organization has not received any response, either positive or negative, on our funding application. So Jeff, if you can catch up with me later, I'd really like to know what how we got results were. So thank you.
Well, my understanding from staff that is working on it is that those letters went out, but let me reconfirm that.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. So there's a lot going on and more funding coming down the pipeline. So
yes, yes.
Lots more work ahead. So let's shift over to Rihanna from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. What do you have for us this week?
Hey, I had a question for Jeff.
Okay, Caroline.
I put in the chat, but Jeff, since you guys do great job there at the county, since housing is the issue here, you know, it's kind of blocking up everything as far as getting people through shelters and such. How can we get support to have the county council approve the 1/10 of 1% for housing? You know, because we looked at those numbers and we think that could actually solve the supportive housing need for, you know, if leveraged, you know, over the next 10 years. So how can we do that? How can we support them in making that decision?
Are you referencing the 1/10 of 1% for behavioral health?
No, for housing, the one they haven't approved yet.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure that we're on the same chart. What I would say to you is that for many of you who have been in this business for a long time and know the Pierce County Council, the council has significantly changed in 2021. There's a lot of conversation taking place behind the scenes. A lot of conversation here, and many of you are engaged and involved in that conversation. So what I can say at this time is stay tuned. There's a lot coming in 2021 with regards to how Pierce County does what it does, potential funding that's coming down the pipeline. Things are going to change soon is what I will say. That's my assessment of it.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for that because I am noticing a change in tone. And I lead a little group that's kind of been going to their meetings every week and encouraging a plan be made and this tax be approved. And just for the whole group to help support the county council in doing their comprehensive planning and getting funding. I put a flyer in the chat that we're having a forum with 3 of the county council members on March 27th. And it would be really powerful if these coalitions, like from Bob, your group in Gig Harbor, and those that are out in the east side of the county and our coalition, get this information out to our communities so we can have a strong showing and support them and show them that the community does support this and want it. So I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a film of a woman that embedded herself with those that are unhoused during the winter in Seattle. So that's the first hour, and the second hour is a panel discussion and small group discussion with the county council.
Thank you, Carolyn. So let's move on to Rihanna and hear what's up with the health department.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the breakout groups this morning. I got to share some of my lived experience as a single mother with unstable housing many years ago. So I appreciated to be able to do that today. Thank you for all your meaningful work. So from the health department, the vaccine education team, which is the team that I'm a part of, is sort of, we're still doing vaccine education, but we're sort of pivoting a little bit towards helping support our vaccine teams, put together clinics and finding, you know, the senior housing places that haven't been vaccinated yet, to try and reach people that are still not vaccinated that are in the first tier. So that's what our team is currently doing. I'm sure all of you heard that tier 2 opens up on the 17th instead of the 22nd. So that's super great news. We're moving pretty quickly here. All the tiers should be open by the end of April. So what I wanted to share is I want to just make sure that everyone knows where to find and have access to our, our vaccine webpage. Our vaccine webpage has all the current information that comes from us. It has a providers list, frequently asked questions, blogs, data, info for healthcare providers. Also, you can get to Phase Finder from this webpage. There's a new addition on the webpage, and it's a phone number. And the phone number, is framed as calling for registering for second dose events. If anybody needs help registering customers or clients or whatever, you can call this phone number and somebody will help register that person. So it's not just for second dose events. So just so you guys know, and that number can be called for anybody that needs help registering. That falls within the current phase guidance, of course. Also, yeah, we have a list of Pierce County providers that is updated and changes very frequently as vaccine supply increases. And the next thing is that we have vaccine education community presentations. And so our next one is on the 26th, and we also have one on April 16th. And we should have all the Johnson & Johnson information integrated into this presentation by the next one. And so I just want to invite anybody who's interested in attending to sign up for the community presentation. You can ask questions at these presentations, and then we take those back and we'll provide answers. So if you click on the date on the flyer, you can sign up for that presentation, and you feel free to share that up on your networks if you wish. So
thank you.
Unless Michael has anything else to add to that, I'll just put my email in the chat.
Great. All right, so moving along in our meeting. Quickly, Verna was going to offer a quick update about a training opportunity related to compassion fatigue. So I'll hand over the floor to you, Verna.
Hi, everybody. Well, first I want to say thank you so much for the work you do for people that are having housing instability. My presentation is directed toward you as people who support others. And I just wanted to mention that I was one of the 11 people that had personal experience with housing instability. I spent most of the first 5 years of my life couch surfing across 3 states so that I could stay in the family and not go into the foster care system. So I have an appreciation for some of the issues here. What I want to talk about, Rob, do I have screen sharing?
I can certainly give that to you here just a moment.
Yeah, it just take a second.
All right, you should have the ability now.
We have the power on. Okay. Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the Pierce County Medical Reserve Corps Trauma Resilience Team, commonly known as the Trauma Resilience Team or TRT. In a nutshell, we're a team of trained volunteers that provide short-term mental health support. And why do we need that? Well, we've all been affected by the pandemic in some way. Here's the message we get. And this is some of the impacts on our lives. So it's touched all of us, right? Oh, and by the way, life didn't stop and give us some slack. This is Puget Sound last month. So we have our normal stressors on top of COVID. Things are different now and we need to adapt. And some days it overwhelms our ability to cope. So we're here to help, Trauma Resilience Team. You don't have to do it alone. There's a couple services we offer. One is educational programs. Rob just mentioned compassion fatigue. So this was one that was put out by the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. We can offer that. And it talks briefly also in there about the buddy system. And all of us in our different agencies can practice being good buddies to each other. Here's another one. The State Department of Health has one called the Health Support Team Training. This one lasts a little bit longer, but it offers a real good overview of stress management and mental health support. So we'll also help you, here's our second service, we'll also help you have creative ways to develop your own internal processes. We can facilitate groups discussions. We're not doing this too much these days, that's not social distancing. Looks more like this, right? Well, we can help you develop creative ways to be supportive of each other, even virtually. And then we'll help you discover some other ways to be supportive of each other and work with you on that. The message is you're not alone. This is the world's fastest PowerPoint, guys. We're here to help. And here's, this is my contact information. I am going to stop screen share and see if this will let me put that information in the meeting.
That was great.
Perfect. Yeah. And, you know, I love that kind of PowerPoint presentation. So thank you.
Fast and furious.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. If anybody has any questions, please let me know and I'll put in chat my contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Verna. And real quick, Teresa, you had a question that I overlooked your hand being up. You wanted to ask Rihanna.
Yeah, but Verna, that was great. It was fast and furious and really informative. So Rihanna, I just wanted to check. I'm in a community that has a lot of elders that have not gotten the vaccine, and it's been hard for them to work with the site they go and everywhere they go. It looks like there are vaccines available and then there aren't. And I wonder if there are any plans to have a clinic just to kind of clean up the people who are over 70 who still haven't gotten their vaccine. If there was something like that, I would put a real effort out to collect these people I know about and get them to such a place. But it feels odd that they still haven't, and they've been trying. It's not that they are technologically illiterate, it's just that they don't stay at their computers all day. And so they don't see when an opportunity comes up, and when they try to schedule, they are not able to. Did she go
Yes,
away?
I don't know. I don't know if Michael or Rihanna could respond to that.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. That's you know, a real concern that we've been hearing, and we've been working with our teams to kind of strategize on ways for us to make sure these folks are getting vaccinated. You know, they're a higher risk than other folks. Actually, we just learned today that we've been working with the State Department of Health, who has been trying to coordinate National Guard teams to be going out to these sites to vaccinate folks who have been having trouble, you know, either getting signed up to go to a clinic or you know, just having trouble getting to the vaccine site before either the spots are closed up or the available doses there are used up. So if you have identified various sites, or we can work together on identifying some of those sites, we could share that with our team, and we could let those folks know that these are areas that still have folks that need to be vaccinated who are eligible, and hopefully we can get some teams to go out and vaccinate those folks.
I think it'd be great if you could do it at a senior center and just make it for people who are 65 and older and open up some opportunities. We could get people scheduled in there. I think we would fill it up pretty quickly.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, if there are certain sites you think that might be better or have a lot of folks, please send them our way, and we can share that information with our teams, and we can strategize and plan for something like that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
All right, so let's flip over to Maureen to talk about advocacy.
All right, so the American Rescue Plan. Yes, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed yesterday, and it is the gift that will keep on giving. All right, so the homelessness and housing part, I put that out early when we got that information. I'll put it out again as I get additional information. But the two things that I want everybody to pay attention to today: one, the economic impact payments, those stimulus checks, those are starting to come out this weekend to people who have direct deposit. That's 14 income determined, 75,000 annual income for one person, 150 for two. It is $1,400 per person in your household, whomever you reported as on your taxes. So your college-age children count this time if they're your dependent. If your mother is your dependent, she counts. It's going to be on your against your federal taxes. So if you got money in these stimulus checks in the first round or the second round, you will automatically get it for whatever the size of your household. They'll base it on your 2019 federal taxes. And if that's not enough because you didn't report children, because you didn't have to file, go to the Get My Payment portal on irs.gov. I'll update the how to do it sheet as soon as we get a little bit more guidance. But I want you to know that money's coming, which means that some of your clients who got it by direct deposit will have those checks as early as this weekend, that money in their accounts. Some will come by paper check, some will come by those preloaded debit cards, and we don't know who's going to get what. What we do know is that people who are incarcerated are eligible. It's clear, it's on the IRS website. People with green cards are eligible, and a few other visa categories. Now, the caveat is I am not an attorney, so don't take this as legal advice. If you have, what else? I put out how to clean up the first and second payment. If there's a recovery rebate option. You may have clients, or you yourself might have to file federal taxes for 2020, even though you don't owe any. That's what gets you into the system, because money's coming through IRS, through the Department of Treasury. The second gift that is going to give all year is for those of you who are going to be income eligible, and that's probably everybody on this call, and certainly all your clients, who have children who are 17 years old or younger. The child tax credit, $3,600 for the current 2021 for everybody who is 17 or younger. They're going to have a social security number. No, I'm sorry, $3,600 for everybody 6 years old or younger, $33,000 for everybody 17 and younger, with different income, earned income thresholds and all that sort of stuff. So half of that money can come in monthly payments starting in July. So for families with children, the combination of the economic impact payment and these child tax credits could be a substantial amount of money for a family. So for a woman with 3 children, $5,600 in that economic impact payment. That could be a huge opportunity. So please make sure yourself, your staff, all of your clients, your guests, your friends, your families, everybody gets every dollar to which they are entitled. And the extent to which you can help people use that money wisely will really, I mean, for some folks, this could be a safe vehicle. It could be they can stay in housing. It could be they can relocate to a place that's better. Could be all sorts of things for them. That's our friends, and there's a ton of money coming. There's more vaccine money coming. Local cities like Tacoma is going to get a set aside of just money. The Pierce County will get money. The state will get money just to do business. Lakewood looks like it should get money. So there are lots of opportunities for advocacy that will line out in the future. At the state level, the tenant protection bills are 2 key ones. Cooter's 5160 and Macri's 1236 are still moving along. The budgets come out next week, and we want to watch for that 70 million at least in rapid shelter acquisition. Means we can buy hotels with that money. That's in the governor's budget. There's $40 million for shelter expansion. That's also in the governor's budget. And there will be, the Alliance meets at 1 o'clock today. Those are always open meetings. Go to WLIHA.org and you just follow the links to register, and we'll have the updates. And then I'll just update virtually. Locally, 1590 is now, looks like it has a second study session. This is the 0.1% for the city of Tacoma on the 23rd of March. And with hopefully it goes to council on the 30th. And I'm sure you'll get more than one reminder about adding. I'll send one to the full coalition about sending a note of support, email or call the county council members. With the county, we know we've got the resolution going on ending homelessness going to the county council human services committee on the 16th. And we have now a message from the mayor of Tacoma's office. The Mayor Woodards has been in continued conversation with elected leaders in the county on the issue, including County Council Member Young, who chairs the council. She expects that the county may be amending the resolution to add someone from the City of Tacoma. Mayor Woodards is also developing a City of Tacoma resolution to support this work. So some of you had questions about where was the city, and this is where the city is. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. That's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
And it just like really, once that bill was signed by the feds, by Biden, it's like this money goes, this is not corporate money. This money goes to people we are and we serve.
Yep. So does anybody have any quick questions for Maureen before we move on to the next item? If you do, you can drop them in the chat. All right, Garrett, do you want to talk about your next item?
Sure. Thank you, Rob. As we've seen presentations a few weeks back from the Speakers Bureau, and I mentioned briefly at last week's meeting, we are looking as a coalition at acquiring funding in order to provide administrative support to a speakers bureau. So, and today my goal is to get a vote from us if we want to pursue that. A speakers bureau is, we're basically taking the administrative responsibilities for a group that already has been started up by the Workforce Central's Community Engagement Task Force. And the speakers bureau's goal is to help people with lived experience tell their story to people that need to hear it. And just like Skip did today, did a beautiful job telling his story. That's exactly what the Speakers Bureau is designed for, is to have a coach get with a speaker and sort of help them to hone their story so it has maximum impact. And the funding is going to do two things. One is going to provide some administrative support so that that program can grow. So someone can work to find the coaches for the speakers and to coordinate the speaking events and help them kind of work. Did I get that wrong? Slim's his name? I got it wrong. Yeah. Slim. Yeah. That's how well I pay attention, folks. And thank you, Rob. And the second thing that that grant funding is going to ask for is money to pay a stipend to our speakers. So part of a challenge of getting people lived experience to audiences is their ability to prioritize their time. So the Speakers Bureau will include a stipend. So if Slim had been part of the Speakers Bureau, he would have had a coach helping him prepare things as a volunteer, and he would also have received a stipend for coming to talk with us today. And so that's basically the request. There's one funding source we're going to try to tap into, which is Justin Wheeler has oftentimes talks about the Accessible Communities Advisory Committee funding. And if that doesn't work, we'll hit some other places. And it's not a huge amount of money. We're not talking about a full-time staff, but I'm excited for us to have this option to get this voice more readily into our meetings, into our subcommittees, and into the community as a whole. So so do we have any questions? Oh, there's a mention from Sheila about there already exists a Speakers Bureau at the Pierce County Community Engagement Task Force. Yeah, this is basically us taking over responsibility for providing administrative support for that existing group, right? So we're not creating something new. That's something Workforce Central is not able to do. And so they asked if we would do that, if our coalition would take that on. And the Speakers Bureau will be lived experience with homelessness, but some of the other things that drive homelessness, substance use, mental health, really places we need advocates in the community to tell their stories. All right, not seeing any more questions. I'm going to toss the actual poll. I prepared this ahead of time as opposed to last time where everybody's like, how are we going to vote? And I was like, I don't know. So I need like poll taking music.
You don't want me to sing.
All
right, guys, we got 5 more minutes. Hold it together.
All right, I'm seeing largely in favor. If you have any concerns with this, get a hold of me and I will get doing some grant writing. I've got somebody on the task force that's going to help work on the grant with me, but always like to have more. So leadership opportunities abound, folks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Garrett. And thanks everybody for voting. So we of course have at least 2 more items on the agenda and about 4 minutes left. But what I want to do, I saw Colin here. I don't know if Colin had any updates he wanted to provide for the Safe Parking Network real quick.
Hey, Rob, how about you check with the other person and then I can give a real quick one at the end. I'm just in the middle of something.
Oh, sure. No problem. Well, the other person happens to be Kevin.
Yep.
So go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks. And can I either screen save or Garrett, can you put the draft plan in the chat?
Here, I can make you co-host real quick, Kevin.
Okay. All right, so just briefly, and there's just a few minutes here, and hopefully we can have a more extensive conversation later. I will send this out to people, but recognizing that the county has kind of taken on what we had committed to in terms of developing a comprehensive plan for addressing homelessness, and then also the first goal of ending street homelessness by November 1st. Working with Maureen and Garrett and others, I've put together and it says draft in the background, a draft plan of just kind of stepping back from November 1st to now, what steps do we need to take in order to get to November 1st and have made progress towards ending street homelessness. It's a rough plan. If we can drop it in the chat, and also I'll email it out to the coalition today, or we'll make it available somehow. And then if people could just give me feedback, things that as I said when I emailed it the first time to Maureen and Garrett, is like the perfect has become the enemy of the good, and I'm just wordsmithing myself into oblivion. So I just wanted to get something to start the conversation. There are sections that need to be added, both under terms of who we're going to engage and what has to happen and when it has to happen. But this is a starting place. So feel free to look at it either in the chat, or we'll send it out. Let me know, and then maybe we can have a more extensive conversation next week, perhaps with some breakouts and talking about the different areas.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So thank you for that, Kevin.
And I don't know how to stop screen sharing. Oh, there we go, where it says stop share.
And I don't know, Colin, if he has, yeah, it looks like you're back on camera, so maybe you have a moment.
Yeah, I will just say that things are going good. We're full, our east side, just on this call right now, or on the meeting today, there was 2 different referrals that came through that they're basically on a wait list right now. So it's awesome, but it's also like, now it's frustrating that we're full and we don't have other sites. With that being said, as you heard from the Key Pen Coalition, we had a great conversation earlier this week with them. They're trying to do stuff that is even outside of the box of where our minds were. So some pretty innovative stuff. Met with the vice president of TCC yesterday. Between Sarah Rumbaugh, myself, Janet, Jeffrey, there's been a lot of, we're applying pressure. Basically, they tried to set up a meeting with us a month out. And we basically said, let's try to do this quicker, and really kind of put some pressure on them. So I am going to met with him yesterday. He's going to go back and share that with the president. They're going to try to get me. They've moved me up to where I'm hopefully going to be meeting with them in the next 2 weeks. So that's good. So they adjusted to us. I'm optimistic about that. Things are going good. Things are going really well. We're moving people along, but as I said, we're kind of full right now. Keep the referrals coming.
Great. Thanks, Colin.
Yep.
And what do you know? We have hit the 11 o'clock hour. That doesn't mean necessarily that the meeting is over. We are going to do our traditional planning for next week's meeting here over the next few minutes after a short break. But I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So if you need to leave at 11, thank you for being here and have a great weekend.
Rob, can I really quick? I'm not sure if everyone's aware what happened with St. Leo's.
Sure, go ahead.
They were broken into night before last. They had their windows smashed out, and the majority of their food supplies were contaminated by human waste. So they had to hire professional cleaners to come in, and the only thing that they were able to salvage was their canned goods. So they are requesting donations of pretty much anything and everything else: produce, pastries, spices, anything that anyone can think of. So if we can spread the word, they are looking for a massive amount of donations. I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you that they are a major food bank provider to our community. So if anyone is able to assist, they have called in every available volunteer to accept donations over the next few days. So spread the word.
Yeah, and I just say, I talked to the operations manager down, I used to be the director down there, and I talked to the operations manager, and she said, in a rare thing, they're actually asking for food donations rather than money because they need to get the food in there quickly. And so really any kind of non-perishable items that you can get down to them so they can get restocked. It's amazing how quickly they were able to turn back around.
Yeah.
And so just now it's having to be able to restock and just to give a sense of their size, it's about 140,000 client visits a year. So it's about 12,000 people a month coming through. So they a lot of food. They go through about 1.6 million pounds of food a year.
Yeah. I dropped by yesterday and they were back open. So folks can just go on over and drop off donations whenever their operations are open. So that's today until about 4.
Another former Food Connection employee. Hi, Meg.
I worked for Kevin. I dropped by yesterday.
Does somebody want to post that information to the coalition mailing list so that folks who aren't here can actually contribute as well?
I had one more item, Rob.
Yeah.
On the agenda.
Sure.
So with the new funding from whatever the CARES Act is called now, on the previous CARES Act, we put together recommendations on funding and sent it to the county council and the city council. And at the steering committee meeting, we discussed that would be a good thing to do again. And we don't need a formal vote, but just kind of wanted to hear back if people had concerns about that or if they were largely in favor of that. So again, it would be us identifying, and this time maybe a prioritized list of areas we would like to see investment. And it may not be something we can turn out in a week or 2 weeks, but the sooner we understand what's possible. So yeah, some thumbs up would be good. And if you have some thumbs downs, kind of let me know. Again, we won't do anything without a vote of the coalition on the letter itself. And I'm sure we'll be covering this during the steering committee. And if we have another meeting just about this, that'll certainly go out with plenty of time for you to either attend or provide some comments. So I'm seeing positive response, which is good. These things are all things that you all can take leadership on, right? So when we talk about the coalition doing, it defaults to some of us that end up doing things, but these are opportunities. If you want to learn how to do this or get involved, like if that would be a stretch, we're there to walk with you as you take something like this on. Any way we can help you kind of work on career goals, blah, blah. Now I'm taking too much time, Rob, but this isn't us doing X and bring it back to you, right? This is all of us doing it. And if you want more involvement in that, talk to your boss about giving you 2 hours a week to work on professional development and do coalition stuff. That would be amazing. And bosses, give them the time. Thank you.
Great idea.
And
I see Maureen has her hand up.
So I'll on Wednesday at 2:30, prior to the steering committee, we do In the Weeds, and I'll do In the Weeds around the American Rescue Plan Act. And we can have part of this conversation at that time.
Perfect. And my apologies, Garrett, we didn't actually get that one on the agenda. All right, let's take a quick break before we do our planning discussion for next week.